Computers process tasks in fractions of a second, but they read code much like we read a book, linearly. A program starts at the top and executes one line at a time, straight to the bottom. If you want to update 5 user profiles, typing out 5 identical instructions is easy. But if you need to process 10,000 users, or keep a game rendering at 60 frames per second indefinitely, writing out sequential commands is impossible to maintain. To scale our operations, we use a loop. This mechanism turns an endless vertical script into a compact circular track, intentionally trapping the Python interpreter in a controlled cycle of instructions. But an intentional trap comes with a specific danger. If the computer does not have a precise instruction telling it until it consumes all available memory and crashes. To safely harness automation, Python relies on 2 different logical triggers. We can repeat code based on a condition or based on a collection. We will start with the conditional trigger. In Python, this is the while statement, a loop designed for tasks where the exact duration is unknown. This diagram shows the logic of a while loop. The execution path hits a gate, a boolean condition that must evaluate to either true or false. As long as that condition remains true, Python executes the attached suite of code. This is useful when you cannot predict the exact endpoint in advance. You might ask a program to display a loading screen while a file download finishes, or keep an application listening for inputs until a user hits a quit key. It is a continuous feedback cycle. The interpreter checks the state, runs the code suite, and immediately loops back up to check the state again. The while loop is reactive. It adjusts to shifting external states rather than following a rigid, predefined limit. The second trigger operates on a different premise. The for statement ignores true and false conditions entirely. Instead, it relies on iterating over a collection of items, like a list or a string. This side-by-side comparison shows the structural shift. Older programming languages force developers to use numerical counters to manually index and retrieve items from a list. You have to tell the loop where to start counting and how to increment. Python's approach is simpler. The for loop pulls the items directly from the sequence, one by one, binding each element to a variable for you to use. Because the loop is tied directly to the collection, the stopping mechanism is automatic. The loop terminates the exact moment the sequence runs out of items. This shifts the focus from managing abstract index numbers to processing the actual, tangible contents of your data. But what if you need to repeat a task exactly 10 times, but you do not have a pre-existing list of 10 items to iterate over? We solve this with range of. This is a built-in Python function that generates an iterable sequence of integers out of thin air. Ask for a range of 10, and it produces numbers from 0 through 9. Pairing the for loop with a generated range provides the same utility as a traditional counter, but in a more readable format. We can increase this complexity further. Since a loop is just a block of code, we can place another loop directly inside of its execution suite. This creates a nested loop. As this grid shows, for every single cycle of the outer loop, the inner loop must complete its entire cycle before the outer loop moves down to the next row. Combining ranges and nested loops allows us to process 2D and 3D data, such as traversing a coordinate grid or editing pixels in an image. Moving away from top-to-bottom execution allows you to automatically process thousands of unit points using a single set of logical rules. Mastering these loops is less about memorizing syntax and more about diagnosing the logical nature of the task you are trying to solve. Use a while loop when a task relies on an unknown time frame or shifting external state. Use a for loop when handling specific numerical counts or a known collection of data. Choosing the trigger that fits your data source prevents manual counting errors and ensures your logic is clear to anyone reading it. Now that we understand the logic of repeating through data, the next step is learning how to manipulate those elements while the loop is in progress. We will tackle that in Part 2.